Awakens from TV shadows. For 300 years, Earth had been a ghost in the memory of the galaxy. Once the birthplace of a species that had burned across the stars with unmatched ferocity and innovation, it now lay abandoned, or so the Galactic Confederation believed. They had quarantined the blue planet, declaring it a tomb world after the Great Purge. The official records stated that humanity had extinguished itself in a final war that scorched continents and boiled oceans. A fitting end, many species thought, for a race that had expanded too quickly, threatened too many established powers, and refused to bow to the ancient hierarchies of space. But Earth had not died. It had merely been sleeping. Deep beneath the ruins of what was once called the Rocky Mountains, something stirred. Ancient machinery, designed to hibernate for centuries, began to awaken. Backup generators hummed to life, drawing power from the planet's core. Screens flickered in darkness that had remained undisturbed for generations, and in a chamber sealed with technology lost to the current age, a cryopod hissed open. Commander Ilara Hayes took her first breath in 3 centuries, coughing as her lungs remembered their purpose. Her dark hair was streaked with silver, not from age, but from the nanites that had kept her alive during the long sleep. Her eyes, when they finally opened, shone with an unnatural amber glow. The mark of Project Guardian, Earth's final defense. Status report, she croaked, her voice cracking from disuse. A holographic interface materialized before her. The AI system, at last, responded in a calm, genderless voice. Welcome back, Commander Hayes. Current date is Galactic Standard Year 2734. Earth has been in dormancy for 312 years. Awakening protocols were triggered by proximity alert. Unidentified vessels have entered Earth's orbit. Ilara's enhanced eyes widened as memories flooded back. The war. The betrayal. The Confederation's decision that humanity was too dangerous to exist alongside civilized species. The desperate plan to preserve what remained of Earth's people and knowledge until the storm had passed. How many survived? She asked, stepping out of the pod on unsteady legs. Stasis chambers report 437 viable human life signs across 4 facilities. You are the first to be awakened. Less than 500. Out of billions. Ilara closed her eyes, allowing herself 3 seconds of grief. No more. That was all the time Earth could afford. Show me these vessels. The hologram shifted to display orbital imagery. 7 ships, their design unfamiliar to Ilara, hovered above Earth's atmosphere. They weren't the massive dreadnoughts that had glassed Earth's cities during the Purge, but smaller scout vessels, though still dangerous. They're scanning the surface, Atlas reported, searching for signs of technological activity. What's our current defensive capability? Limited. Primary defense grid remains offline. Automated systems are at 23% capacity. Orbital platforms were destroyed during the Purge. Ilara nodded, already formulating plans. Wake up Lieutenant Commander Chen and Major Volkov. Science and military. We need options. Acknowledge. As Atlas carried out her orders, Ilara moved to the command center. The facility, codenamed HFY, had been built in the final days before the fall, hidden from enemy scans by experimental phase technology. It was one of 5 such bunkers scattered across the planet, preserving not just human lives, but the essence of what humanity had created: art, music, literature, scientific knowledge, and most importantly, their most advanced weapons. Because the architects of Project Guardian had known that someday humanity would need to fight back. The command center hummed with renewed energy as systems long dormant came back online. Ilara placed her palm on the central console, allowing her nanite-infused blood to interface with the facility. Information flooded her enhanced mind. Status reports, damage assessments, resource inventories. Earth was wounded, but not dead. Nature had reclaimed much of the surface. Radiation levels had dropped to safe parameters in most regions. And beneath the ruined cities and regrown forests, humanity's final weapons waited. Commander, a voice called from behind her. Ilara turned to see Lieutenant Commander Chen, her old friend, and the project's lead scientist, looking disoriented but alert. Beside him stood Major Volkov, his imposing frame made even more intimidating by the combat exoskeleton grafted to his body. Another Guardian enhancement. Michael, Sophia, Ilara acknowledged. Welcome back to the land of the living. Though I'm not sure how much living is happening on Earth these days. Those ships, Volkov said, getting straight to business as he studied the holographic display. Confederation. Unknown design, Ilara replied. But they're about to get a surprise if they think Earth is undefended. Chen approached the console, her movements becoming more fluid as her body adjusted to being awake. We can't engage them directly. Not yet. We need intelligence first. Agreed, Ilara said. Atlas, do we have any functional drones? 12 stealth reconnaissance units remain operational in Storage Bay 3. Launch one. Let's see who our visitors are. The drone deployed silently from a hidden silo, its advanced cloaking technology making it virtually undetectable. As it ascended toward the alien vessels, Ilara and her team watched through its sensors, holding their breath. The ships were sleek, with curved hulls that reminded Ilara of the Arcadian design philosophy, a species that had once been allies before turning on humanity during the Purge. But there were differences, weapon emplacements more prominent, engine configurations more advanced. 300 years of evolution, Chen murmured. They've been busy while we slept. The drone carefully approached the nearest vessel, scanning its hull composition, energy signatures, and communications. Atlas processed the data in real time, detecting multiple species aboard, the AI reported. Primary life signs match Arcadian and Vesperi physiology. Secondary signatures include Xorlath and Terran. Volkov's voice was sharp with surprise. Humans. That's not possible, Ilara said. Unless. Atlas. Could they be descendants of off-world colonies? Survivors that escaped the Purge? Insufficient data. However, genetic markers suggest artificial adaptation rather than natural evolution. A cold feeling settled in Ilara's stomach. They'd been experimenting on us. Before they could process this disturbing revelation, Atlas issued an alert. Warning. Vessels are deploying landing craft. 6 shuttles descending toward surface. Trajectory indicates they will land within 200 kilometers of this facility. They've detected us, Volkov stated grimly. No, Chen corrected, studying the data. They're landing near one of the old cities, Denver ruins. They think they're exploring a dead world. Ilara's enhanced eyes narrowed. Then let's keep it that way. For now. Atlas, retract the drone. Major Volkov, prepare a strike team from security personnel. I want eyes on these visitors. Lieutenant Commander Chen, begin waking the essential personnel. Medical, engineering, defense. We need this facility at full operational capacity. And the other facilities? Chen asked. Remain dormant until we assess the threat, Ilara decided. If these are just scientific explorers, we observe. If they're here to finish what the Confederation started, we strike. Either way, humanity stays hidden until we're ready. Within hours, Sanctuary transformed from a sleeping tomb to a hive of activity. 63 specialists were awakened from cryo, each selected for their crucial roles in Project Guardian. Engineers brought more systems online. Medical personnel treated revival symptoms. Security personnel armed themselves with weapons that had waited centuries to fire again. Major Volkov led a team of 12 through a secret tunnel system that extended for miles beyond the facility. They wore advanced stealth suits, another piece of technology that had been in development just before the fall. The suits bent light around them, masked their heat signatures, and dampened sound. They moved like ghosts through the transformed landscape of Earth. What had once been suburbs and highways was now forest and meadow. Nature had reclaimed its territory with magnificent indifference to human design. Only occasional remnants, a crumbling concrete wall, The skeleton of a skyscraper, a half-buried sign, gave any indication that a civilization had once thrived here. From their vantage point on a forested ridge, Volkov's team observed the alien landing party. Through enhanced binoculars, they watched as beings from across the galaxy set foot on Earth's soil, some for the first time, others returning as conquerors to a world they thought conquered. 6 shuttles, approximately 40 personnel, Volkov reported via secure comlink. Mixed species, primarily Arcadian and Vesperi, as Atlas identified. They're armed, but not in battle formation. Scientific equipment visible. Back at Sanctuary, Ilara received the transmission with a grim expression. Any sign of the human subjects? Negative. Wait. Volkov paused. Correction. I count 3 humanoid figures. They appear restrained. Collars. Probably neural suppressors. They're being used as labor. Ilara's enhanced fists clenched, the nanites in her bloodstream responding to her surge of anger by briefly illuminating the veins in her arms with golden light. Keep watching. Do not engage. But the universe had other plans. As Volkov's team observed, one of the alien scientists activated a scanning device. Its energy signature pulsed across the landscape and triggered an ancient defense system that had remained hidden for centuries. From beneath the ruined city, automated turrets emerged, targeting the alien vessels. They fired immediately, ancient weapons designed to penetrate the strongest shields. 2 shuttles exploded before anyone could react. What the hell? Ilara demanded as alarms blared in Sanctuary. Atlas, explain. Automated defense system in Denver sector has activated. It was not under my control. Appears to be operating on independent protocols. Volkov's voice crackled over the comm. Commander, the situation has escalated. Aliens returning fire. They're calling their ships. The humans. They're executing the humans. Ilara made her decision in an instant. Engage, Major. Save those people. Atlas, bring all systems to combat readiness. It seems Earth is declaring herself open for business again. On the ridge, Volkov gave the order. His team activated their weapons, plasma rifles that had been the pinnacle of human innovation before the fall. They moved with precision born of years of training and enhancement, each shot finding its mark as they descended upon the alien expedition. The aliens, caught between the automated defense system and the sudden appearance of ghost-like human warriors, fell into chaos. Some tried to return fire, others fled for the remaining shuttles. The Arcadian commander, distinguished by his ornate armor, marked orders in a language that had evolved over 3 centuries, but still retained enough similarity to its ancestor for Volkov's translation implant to understand. Impossible. The humans are dead. The records confirmed total extinction. Volkov approached the commander, his stealth suit deactivating to reveal his imposing form. The exoskeleton amplified his height and strength, making him tower over the Arcadian. The records, Volkov said in perfect Arcadian, were incomplete. In orbit, the alien vessels detected the attack on their ground team and immediately prepared offensive measures. Energy weapons charged, targeting systems locked onto the source of the attack. But Earth had one more surprise waiting. At Ilara's command, Atlas activated a system that had been Earth's final resort, never deployed during the original conflict because it had not been completed in time. From hidden silos across the planet, countermeasures launched. Not missiles or drones, but specialized EMP devices designed to disable rather than destroy. The alien vessels, suddenly finding their systems failing, were caught unprepared. As their engines sputtered and weapons powered down, they drifted helplessly in orbit. On the surface, Volkov's team secured the 3 human captives, removing their restraints and neural suppressors. They were disoriented, fearful, and amazed to see other humans. "You're from Earth?" one asked, his accent strange to Volkov's ears. "We are Earth," Volkov replied. Back at Sanctuary, Ilara watched the operation unfold with grim satisfaction. Phase 1 of Awakening was complete. The galaxy now knew that Earth was not as dead as they had believed. But this was just the beginning. At last, she commanded, initiate awakening protocols for all facilities. Activate Project Nemesis. Warning, the AI responded. Project Nemesis was not fully tested before hibernation. Success parameters unknown. Ilara looked at the holographic display, showing the disabled alien ships, the rescued humans, and most importantly, the life signs of her awakened team, the first free humans to walk Earth in 3 centuries. The testing phase, she said softly, begins now. And may the galaxy remember why they feared us. In the observation room adjacent to the command center, the 3 rescued humans watched with wide eyes as more cryopods opened. One of them, a woman with scars that spoke of hard years in captivity, turned to Shen. "What is this place?" she asked. "Who are you people?" Chen smiled, an expression that mixed pride and sorrow. "We are Project Guardian, Earth's insurance policy, and you are witnessing the beginning of humanity's return." The woman stared at the awakening sleepers, tears streaming down her face. "They told us Earth was destroyed, that humans were extinct except for captive breeding populations. They lied," Chen said simply. "Or perhaps they genuinely believed it. Either way, they're about to learn the truth." In her command chair, Ilara interfaced with Sanctuary Systems, reviewing the status of Project Nemesis. The blueprints materialized before her, a weapons platform unlike anything the Confederation had ever faced. Not designed for extinction, but for protection. A shield that could span the entire solar system, preventing any hostile force from ever threatening Earth again. "Commander," Atlas interrupted her thoughts. "Incoming transmission. Origin, Galactic Confederation Central Command. They are responding to distress calls from the scout vessels." Ilara's lips curved into a smile that held no warmth. "Put them through." It's time the galaxy remembered the voice of Earth. The holographic display shifted, revealing the stern face of an Arcadian admiral, his expression locked in shock as he beheld a living, breathing human in a command position. "Impossible," he whispered. "Admiral," Ilara greeted calmly. "On behalf of Earth Command, I regret to inform you that your exploratory vessels have violated sovereign territory and engaged in criminal activities, including the enslavement of sentient beings. We have temporarily disabled their systems in response to hostile actions." "Earth has no sovereignty," the Admiral sputtered. "Earth is a quarantine dead zone by order of the Confederation Council. As you can see," Ilara gestured to herself, "reports of our extinction were premature. Earth reclaims her place among the stars. Admiral, you would be wise to inform your council." The Admiral's shock gave way to cold calculation. "You cannot imagine that whatever remnant survived could stand against the Confederation. We eliminated your kind once. We can do so again." Ilara's enhanced eyes flared with golden light. "You tried. You failed. And this time, Admiral, we're ready for you. Earth has awakened, and the stars will tremble." She cut the transmission with a gesture, leaving the Admiral staring at emptiness, much like the void the Confederation had tried to consign humanity to. "They'll come," Volkov said as he returned to the command center. "In force." "I'm counting on it," Ilara replied. "How are our guests?" "Shocked, traumatized, but already offering to help. They've been living as slaves, Commander, used for labor and experimentation. They say there are thousands more like them throughout Confederation space." Ilara nodded slowly, the weight of command settling more firmly on her shoulders. "Then we have more work to do than I thought." She turned to Chen. "How soon can we have Project Nemesis operational?" Chen's expression was grim but determined. "With the resources we currently have, 2 weeks. Maybe less if we wake more engineering specialists." "You have 3 days," Ilara said, "because that's how long it will take the Confederation to mobilize a response fleet." She stood, addressing everyone in the command center. 300 years ago, Humanity was brought to the edge of extinction because we weren't united, because we weren't prepared. We fought among ourselves until it was too late. Her enhanced eyes swept across the room, meeting the gaze of each awakened guardian. This time, we fight as one. For Earth, for humanity, and for every human who has suffered under Confederation rule while we slept. Outside Sanctuary, night fell on an Earth reborn. In the darkness, more facilities awakened, more sleepers opened their eyes, and ancient machines of war stirred to life. Humanity had returned, carrying 3 centuries of righteous fury, and the galaxy would soon remember why they had tried so hard to make humanity extinct in the first place. The Dodorat of a forgotten world. The Confederation fleet arrived exactly when Ilara had predicted. 3 days after the confrontation, 27 warships emerged from hyperspace, their hulls gleaming with the arrogance of undisputed power. They arranged themselves in battle formation above Earth's atmosphere, weapon systems primed, and targeting arrays sweeping the surface for the humans who had dared to reappear. From Sanctuary's command center, now fully operational and humming with nervous energy, Ilara watched their approach on the holographic display. Over the past 72 hours, all 5 Guardian facilities had been awakened. 437 humans, scientists, soldiers, engineers, and specialists now stood as Earth's last and only line of defense. "They're hailing us," Atlas announced. "Admiral Sorvin demands immediate surrender of all human forces." Ilara's lips curved in a cold smile. "I'm sure he does. Put him through." The Admiral's face materialized in the holographic display. Unlike the previous commander, Sorvin was Vesperi, an insectoid species known for their tactical brilliance and utter lack of mercy. His compound eyes reflected the light in fractured patterns as he regarded Ilara with obvious disdain. "I speak with the authority of the Galactic Confederation," he began without preamble. "The humans of Earth will surrender all weapons, technology, and submit to immediate relocation. This is non-negotiable." Relocation. Ilara's enhanced eyes narrowed. "Is that what you call extinction these days, Admiral?" The Vesperi's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "The Confederation has evolved beyond such barbaric measures. Your people will be processed for integration into appropriate labor pools. Those with genetic profiles of interest will enter the breeding program. The rest will serve the greater galactic community in various capacities." "Slavery," Ilara stated flatly. "You're offering us slavery. I'm offering you continued existence. The alternative is planetary sterilization." Sorvin's mandibles clicked again. "You have 1 standard hour to comply." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in tense silence. Lieutenant Commander Chen broke it first. "Project Nemesis isn't ready. We've established the core network, but the power requirements are still unstable." "What about conventional defenses?" Volkov asked. "Automated defense systems are at 62% capacity," Atlas reported. "Orbital platforms remain disabled. Ground-to-space weapons are functional but limited." Ilara's mind raced through options, calculations, probabilities, her enhanced neural pathways processing faster than any unmodified human could. They needed time. But more than that, they needed a plan the Confederation wouldn't expect. "Atlas," she said finally, "show me the status of Vanguard Base." The hologram shifted to display a schematic of a facility buried deep beneath what had once been the Atlantic Ocean. Unlike the other Guardian sites, Vanguard wasn't primarily a shelter, it was a weapon. "Vanguard Base is operational," Atlas confirmed. "Awakening protocols complete. Commander Rodriguez reports all systems green." Ilara nodded. "Tell Rodriguez to prepare Genesis Protocol. Authorization Hayes Omega-9. Chen gasped. "Genesis? That's still theoretical. We never completed the field tests." "We're out of theoretical time," Ilara replied grimly. "Volkov, prepare all combat personnel. Distributed resistance strategy. We need to keep the Confederation ground forces occupied while Vanguard works. And the civilians? Volkov asked. Evacuation to Deep Haven has already begun, Ilara said. Chen, you'll coordinate from there if things go south. The scientists started to protest, but Ilara cut her off with a raised hand. This isn't a debate. Earth needs minds like yours to survive, regardless of what happens today. As her team dispersed to carry out orders, Ilara interfaced directly with Sanctuary's core systems. Through her nanite enhancements, she connected her consciousness to the facility's vast database, accessing files that even Atlas couldn't reach without her biometric signature. The true nature of Project Guardian had been compartmentalized, with each facility leader knowing only their part of the whole. Ilara, as overall commander, was the only one who knew the complete plan, the last resort that Earth's final unified government had developed as the Confederation closed in 3 centuries ago. They hadn't just been preserving human life or knowledge. They had been preserving humanity's greatest strength, the capacity to adapt and overcome. Sorvin watched the countdown on his command bridge with growing anticipation. The humans' hour was nearly up, and they had made no response to his ultimatum. His intelligence officers had detected increased activity at several locations on the planet's surface, but nothing that suggested a coordinated defense effort. Pitiful, he clicked to his second-in-command. They slept for 3 centuries only to wake up and die. Should we prepare landing parties? The officer asked. No. We will commence orbital bombardment when the deadline expires. Sterilize from above before sending recovery teams for technology assessment. But as the final seconds ticked away, his communications officer suddenly straightened. Admiral, multiple launch signatures detected. The human's error. The rest of his warning was drowned out by alarms as hundreds of objects burst from Earth's surface, accelerating toward the Confederation fleet with impossible speed. Evasive maneuvers. Sorvin commanded. Prepare point defense systems. The fleet scattered, breaking formation as they tracked the incoming projectiles. But these weren't conventional missiles. They were smaller, faster, and seemingly immune to targeting systems. What are they? Sorvin demanded. His science officer studied the readings with growing alarm. They appear to be drones, incredibly advanced. Our scanners can barely track them. The first wave of drones reached the fleet, and instead of exploding, they attached themselves to the warship's hulls. Within seconds, the vessels began reporting system failures, weapons offline, shields failing, engines sputtering. They're deploying some kind of localized EMP, the science officer reported. But how? Such technology should be beyond their capabilities. Sorvin's compound eyes narrowed. It's not beyond their capabilities. It's beyond what we knew of their capabilities. He turned to his tactical officer. Launch fighters. All of them. Target the drone launch sites. On Earth, Ilara watched the battle unfold with grim satisfaction. Phase 1 was working exactly as planned. The EMP drones, developed in the final days before the purge, were neutralizing the Confederation fleet's advantage without destroying the ships themselves. Because destruction wasn't the goal. Not yet. Commander Rodriguez reports Genesis Protocol at 70% capacity, Atlas announced. Estimated completion, 17 minutes. Tell all ground teams to stand by, Ilara ordered. The Confederation will deploy fighters next. We need to keep them occupied. As if on cue, the holographic display showed hundreds of smaller vessels deploying from the disabled warships, fighters and landing craft descending toward Earth's surface. They're targeting all 5 Guardian facilities, Atlas noted. They've identified our positions. As expected, Ilara replied calmly. Execute Hydra Protocol. Across Earth's surface, the battle for humanity's future began in earnest. Confederation fighters screamed through the atmosphere, weapons blazing as they approached the Guardian facilities. But they were met with surprisingly effective resistance, automated defense systems that adapted to their attack patterns, ground forces equipped with weapons 3 centuries advanced from the last conflict, and most importantly, the determination of humans fighting for their very existence. At the Denver site, Major Volkov led the defense personally. His enhanced body moved with lethal precision as he directed his troops, each of them augmented in various ways through Project Guardian. They weren't just soldiers, they were humanity's last warriors, designed to match and exceed the capabilities of any Confederation species. The first wave of Confederation ground troops, primarily Arcadian shock troopers and Vesperi assassins, were met with devastating resistance. They had expected to find scattered survivors, disorganized and technologically inferior. Instead, they found an enemy that had spent 3 centuries preparing for this exact moment. Push them back. Volkov roared as he fired his plasma rifle, each shot finding its mark with enhanced precision. Hold the perimeter until Genesis is ready. In orbit, Admiral Sorvin raged as reports flooded in from his ground forces. Heavy resistance, unexpected weapons technology, and most disturbingly, humans with physical capabilities that matched or exceeded his best troops. These are not the same humans we fought before, his intelligence officer warned. They've changed themselves. Impossible. Sorvin clicked. Human genetic manipulation was always inferior. Their ethics held them back. Perhaps, the officer replied. Desperation changed their ethics. Before Sorvin could respond, a new alert sounded. Something massive was moving beneath Earth's Atlantic Ocean, something their sensors couldn't properly identify. What now? He demanded. On the holographic display, a portion of the ocean began to churn and split. Rising from the depths came a structure unlike anything the Confederation had ever encountered. Not a ship, not a station, but something that defied easy categorization. It was vast, easily the size of a small city, with a central spire that extended upward into the atmosphere. Genesis, Ilara whispered as she watched from Sanctuary. This was the true heart of Project Guardian, not just a weapon, but a new beginning. Genesis protocol at 100%. Atlas confirmed. Activation commencing. The structure, Vanguard Base, now fully emerged, began to pulse with energy. At its core, technology that had been theoretical when the Guardians went into hibernation had been refined and perfected by AI systems working tirelessly through the centuries. In orbit, Sorvin's remaining functional sensors detected an enormous energy buildup. Target that structure. All remaining weapons. But it was too late. From Vanguard's central spire, a wave of energy erupted. Not a destructive beam, but an expanding field that raced outward at impossible speed. As it touched each Confederation vessel, their systems simply stopped. Not damaged, not disabled, but completely inert, as if the fundamental principles of their technology had been suspended. On the command bridge of his flagship, Sorvin watched in horror as every system shut down simultaneously, and then, most terrifyingly, reactivated under external control. Screens flickered to life, displaying a single human face. Commander Ilara Hayes. Admiral Sorvin, she said, her voice echoing through every vessel in the fleet. Your ships are now under Earth control. Your ground forces are surrounded. The Confederation's attack has failed. What have you done? Sorvin demanded, mandibles clicking in fury and fear. What is this technology? We call it Genesis, Ilara replied. A field that selectively disrupts and controls specific forms of energy manipulation, the foundation of your technology. 300 years ago, it was just a theory. We've had time to perfect it. She leaned forward, her enhanced eyes glowing with an inner light that made the Vesperi Admiral flinch. Your fleet will now receive Earth's terms. They are non-negotiable. Across the Confederation fleet, every communication system simultaneously received the same message, a list of demands that shook the foundations of galactic power. Immediate recognition of Earth's sovereignty and a permanent non-aggression pact. The release of all humans held in captivity throughout Confederation space. Reparations for the attempted genocide of the human species. A treaty establishing new boundaries for human expansion within the galaxy. "This is absurd," Sorvin clicked. "The Confederation will never agree to these terms." "They will," Ilara stated with absolute certainty, "because the alternative is to lose their entire fleet and have Genesis technology deployed throughout Confederation space. Your scientists will confirm what I'm about to tell you. This field can be programmed to target specific technological signatures. We can shut down your civilization world by world if necessary." She paused, letting the implications sink in. "But that's not what we want. Humanity doesn't seek domination, Admiral. Despite what the Confederation has done to us, we're not interested in revenge. We want justice, security, and our rightful place among the stars." Sorvin's compound eyes reflected the light from the display as he processed his options, all of them leading to the same conclusion. The Council will want verification of this technology's capabilities. "They'll have it," Ilara assured him. "A demonstration has been prepared. In approximately 3 minutes, every Confederation outpost within 50 light-years will experience a temporary systems shutdown, lasting exactly 1 hour. No casualties, no permanent damage, just a reminder of what humanity is capable of." In the observation room adjacent to Sanctuary's command center, the 3 rescued humans watched in awe as Ilara negotiated humanity's return from the brink of extinction. One of them, a man who had spent his entire life as Confederation property, turned to Chen with tears in his eyes. "Is it really over? Are we free?" Chen smiled, placing a hand on his shoulder. "This is just the beginning. We have thousands of your people to find and bring home. We have a civilization to rebuild." The man looked back at the display, where Admiral Sorvin was reluctantly agreeing to relay Earth's terms to the Confederation Council. "They'll try again. Maybe not today or tomorrow, but someday. They've hated us for too long." "They hated us because they feared us," Chen replied. "And they were right to fear us. Not because we're conquerors, but because we refuse to be conquered." In the command center, Ilara concluded her negotiations with Sorvin. "A Confederation delegation will be permitted to land at these coordinates in 24 hours to formalize these terms. Until then, your fleet remains under our control." As the transmission ended, she slumped slightly in her chair, the first sign of weariness she had shown since awakening. Volkov, having returned from the front lines, approached her with a mixture of respect and concern. "It worked," he said simply. "Genesis actually worked." "It worked because we made it work," Ilara replied. "Because every human who went into those cryo chambers 300 years ago refused to accept extinction as our fate." She stood, moving to the central holographic display where Earth, beautiful, resilient Earth, rotated slowly. The planet bore the scars of the purge, but nature had healed much of the damage. Forests grew where cities had burned. Oceans ran clear where they had once been poisoned. Earth had used the centuries to recover, just as its guardians had used them to prepare. "What happens now?" Volkov asked. Ilara's enhanced eyes studied her homeworld with fierce pride. "Now we rebuild. We find our lost people. We reclaim our place in the galaxy." She turned to him, her expression softening slightly. "And we make sure that humanity never faces extinction again." Outside Sanctuary, night was falling across what had once been North America. The Confederation fighters had retreated back to their disabled ships. The sound of battle had been replaced by the calls of night birds and the rustle of wind through trees that had grown tall during humanity's long sleep. In orbit, the Confederation fleet hung motionless, their mighty weapons silenced by technology born of human desperation and ingenuity. On their bridges, alien commanders contemplated a future where humans were not extinct but ascendant, changed by their near destruction into something more determined, more unified, and far more dangerous than before. The lost guardian of Earth Awakens, and aboard Vanguard Base, Commander Rodriguez watched as Genesis worked exactly as designed, not as a weapon of mass destruction, but as a shield that could protect humanity from ever facing extinction again. 3 days later, As the Confederation delegation arrived to formally recognize Earth's sovereignty, Ilara stood on the surface for the first time since awakening. The Colorado sky stretched blue above her, the air sweet with the scent of pine and wildflowers. Nature had reclaimed much of what humanity had lost, but now they would build something new together. "They're calling you the Guardian of Earth," Chen said as she joined Ilara on the hillside overlooking the landing site. "The story is spreading throughout Confederation space. Humans in captivity are already organizing, waiting for retrieval." "I'm not the Guardian," Ilara replied softly. "We all are. Every human who refused to die, who kept hope alive through centuries of darkness." As the Confederation ship descended through the atmosphere, Ilara thought of the long road ahead. Rebuilding civilization, retrieving their scattered people, establishing humanity's new place in the galaxy. It would not be easy. The Confederation's recognition was born of fear rather than respect, and that would take generations to change. But Earth had time now. Earth had a future. "Are you ready?" Chen asked as the ship's landing gear extended. Ilara nodded, her enhanced eyes reflecting the sunlight with golden determination. "For 300 years, we've been ready." The ship touched down, stirring dust that had lain undisturbed for centuries. The ramp extended and representatives of a dozen alien species emerged to face the species they had tried to erase from existence. Humanity had returned to the stars, and the galaxy would never be the same again. Darkness falls over the stars.